Today I'm going to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Spy Club. Spy Club is a little unique because this game has not been published yet, but I had the pleasure of playtesting a session of Spy Club at the Stonemaier Games Design Day, which I hosted this past weekend. And it was almost complete. The game was working. I think they're tweaking a few things. They're exploring some elements, but at least the session I played was essentially complete, although we did have some feedback for it. Spy Club is a cooperative game where you are trying to solve a mystery, and every player has a tableau of 3 different cards. You see the front of the cards, but the back of the cards is relevant, and you can try to discover them by flipping those cards over. But the thing that I want to highlight in Spy Club is something that I try to talk about in many different cooperative games that do this well, which is how the cooperation and the collaboration actually happens. And there are a few different levels to it, but I wanted to mention one thing specifically, which is that you always have a little spyglass token on your player mat, and it's always aligned with one of the 3 cards that you have. This represents what you're focusing on, what you're investigating at that time. Are you investigating a certain person or a certain place or a certain motive, things like that. And so the spyglass is always aligned with a specific card. The cards are all colors as well. And so the collaboration element, the collaborative element here, is that if your spyglass is aligned with a card that matches the same color, it's the same type of card, color or type, which is the same thing. If it matches the same color of a card that someone else is currently focusing on, then it creates a teamwork element between you and that player, or you and those players, could be plural. It gives you some other options. So instead of having, I think it's 3 or 4 standard actions, you could also trade cards between that player. You can also trade, I think they're idea tokens. There's some other tokens that you have. You can give that player some idea tokens, or maybe take them from that player as well. Some unique, so it unlocks actions if you are focusing on the same thing. I like this mechanically, and I like it thematically. Thematically, I like it because it's like you have decided to focus. You're focusing your investigation on the same thing with another players. So if you and another player are both investigating the suspect, then thematically you're both kind of working together to investigate the suspect. So it makes sense that you can have a collaborative moment there. This is especially clever in a game that's not spatial, really. Like, there's not a map that you're moving around on to go see different suspects. That element is kind of abstracted in this game, which is actually, I think, is to the benefit of this game. They don't put a bunch of movement mechanisms in this game that doesn't need them. So that's the thematic element. Mechanically, it's interesting because it gives you an extra piece to the puzzle of what you're focusing on at any given time to unlock those other actions. It gives you a reason to pay attention to the other players and communicate with them. While it doesn't completely eliminate the alpha player syndrome, it goes as far as a cooperative game really should go to eliminate that syndrome. Because technically, yes, I could direct all other players and tell them where to put their focus, and that when we're going to trade, and when I'm going to give them tokens, when they're going to give me stuff. But that isn't really the type of player that I want in a cooperative game. Instead, it takes it down one level, which is that because those actions are only unlocked if you're focusing on the same thing as someone else. On my turn, if I simply decide to focus on something different, or if I decide not to use my actions for those teamwork elements, that's okay. That's my choice, and no one else can tell me otherwise, because I am in control of that exact moment. I really, really like that about this game. So it's just a simple little mechanism, this focus element that unlocks actions, but I really like the idea of a little element like that gets you to pay attention to the other players, communicate with them, and that it unlocks additional actions that you have access to because of the thematic thing. You're focusing on the same thing as other players. If you have an element that you've recently discovered in a cooperative game that encourages communication, collaboration, and I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Or if you've played Spy Club, maybe a prototype of Spy Club, and you'd like to talk about your favorite mechanism, I'd love to hear about that in the comments as well. Thanks.